guys, it's Denise with Create Your Future. Thanks for joining me. For today's video, I am going to share my recent personal success story for manifesting and talk a little bit about living in the end and pointers of what to do and what not to do based on my experience. So also before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know that I have recorded a course on living in the end, and you can find a link to that in the description below. I will be doing more courses. I have a couple of ideas in mind. So if you guys have things that you would like to see me put out a course on, please comment that below and I will be reading those and taking that into consideration. Also, if anyone wants to sign up for coaching, the link is as well in the description below. And we have an amazing team of coaches. And I guess that's it. So we'll get started. Before we get started though, do set your intentions to get the most out of this video. So my recent success story is I have manifested a house. Some of my clients know that I've been wanting to move for quite some time. It's actually been nearly 2 years, and really my ability to consciously, deliberately manifest in this area due to other things that I was working on and creating in my life was about 1 year and 4 months. So even though I've wanted to move for about 2 years, I knew that at that time I wasn't even going to start trying to actually deliberately create it, just because I knew that other things were happening that I was working on first. So about 1 year and 4 months that I have been manifesting my house. Now, this isn't a house that I'm buying. It's just a house that we're moving into. But we were in a house. I have 3 kids, and we were in a house that was just too small for us. We didn't all have our own bedrooms. It was a shared backyard because it's like a duplex. Really great part of town. In the town I really love and didn't want to leave. But too small for us. Laundry room outside, all of these things that I just wanted. I wanted my house with all the things that I wanted in it. So let's talk about how this came about. Well, first we'll just go into it. Okay. So I actually have lived in this house before. So it's funny because if you're relating this to a specific person, like this is, I got my ex back. I got my house that I lived in before. And when I lived there last time, I only had 2 kids. My youngest wasn't with us yet. And this was our favorite house. My kids still have talked about it all throughout the years since we lived there. It was about 6 or 7, almost 7 years ago that we lived there, that we moved out. And everyone refers to the street name, oh, the such and such house. And they just love that house so much. And it was our favorite house. I always wanted to get back into it. The reason I had to move was because the owner's family, her nephew, who was like a son to her, him and his family moved back to this state from out of state, and they needed a place to live. So she gave me ample time, but was like, sorry, it's family. So I'm going to obviously rent my house to them. They need it. Through the course of that time, she and I stayed in touch, and I was told, that they weren't going to move out of state because they were happy to be here. But I kept, they're going to go back. They want to go back. They're going to go back. Then it turned into they're going to move out of state when their oldest kids are done with high school. And I kept intending they're going to go back sooner. They're going to go back sooner. Now their oldest kids were in their last year this school semester, the school year that's happening right now. This was their senior year in school. And so some months ago, it turned into, the story evolved into, they are going back. They're moving back to that state. They're considering it after the school year's over, but I'm likely going to sell the home. And I kept on my mental diet, wanting to live in this house, focusing on living in this house, being determined to get a couple of years to live in this house, because in a couple of years, I feel I will be at a place where I'm ready and desiring to purchase and own a home. And I would love to own this home. So what happened was, well, let me tell you a little bit about why it took so long. Even though I was on a mental diet and doing the best I could at the time, I was still wavering. There were things getting in my head. you know, there were things about just growing up where I live. I live in an expensive state, and the county I live in is a desirable county. So it's an expensive county. The town I live in is one of the most expensive towns in that county. And there's all these things. You know, I've heard people say, like, I don't know how anybody does it in this town or this county or even this state. I don't know how anybody does it, especially single parent. And I know, no, you'll never be able to buy a home here. And rents just keep going higher and higher. And then, you know, there were fires and all these things were happening. The lockdown was, you know, people were moving that made more money that lived further away. But now that they could telecommute, they were moving to a more desirable town or county, which was ours. And so driving prices up and all these things were happening around me, all these circumstantial things that I knew they weren't the circumstances that were in place. They were the circumstances I was creating with my disbelief that I could have what I wanted. So that's the first thing that I want to talk about with living in the end. It's get behind a believable to you, a believable end to where you're at right now. So wherever you're at right now, what feels the most believable that you can get behind that's the closest to your end, and start there and just stick with it. Don't waver. Don't let these circumstances, which are just your manifestation, get in the way, because it will delay what you want. It will delay your manifestation. Now, my manifestation was delayed, right? 1 year and 4 months. That's a long time, I feel like, especially for somebody that coaches and that teaches this and practices it daily. But at the same time, I look back and I'm like, well, first of all, when it happened, when I got the word that it was solid and done, that 1 year and 4 months literally disappeared. Didn't matter at all. I didn't think of any of the frustration or the, you know, the desire or the lack, or I didn't think of anything anymore. Didn't even matter. It was perfect. It was amazing. It happened. I got it. It came through. All celebration mode, 100%. So that, and then the other part is that even though it took 1 year and 4 months, really other things that happened that brought me great joy and great connections into my life wouldn't have happened had I moved. So if I weren't in the house that I was in, around the people that I was around, forging those relationships, these other relationships wouldn't have come into my life. So that's something to consider, that, you know, and other things that just wouldn't have worked out the way they did had I moved. So also it's the idea of, well, I was in control the whole time and I manifested it exactly when I needed it, even though, you know, the conscious me on the daily didn't realize that it was exactly what I needed. So take that in consideration too. If your manifestation has been taking a long, long, long time, or you feel like it might take a long time, first of all, don't interpret that it's going to take a long time. It's happening now. It's always available to me. Things are coming through. I'm seeing movement. Practice that mental diet of optimism and confidence, but also practice or know that you are the one in control of it and you are manifesting everything. And maybe there are other things along your pathway that you're bringing into your life that wouldn't have come had you jumped into that quantum reality where exactly what you wanted in relation to this one thing was happening. So continue to really find joy day to day and practice confidence and faith in knowing that what you're getting is coming and not to worry about it. So back to like how this kind of unfolded for me was, I think the last thing I said was I told you that they were going to move and she wanted to sell the house when word came, or when, you know, when the final word was that they were moving. So it was probably less than 4 weeks before the manifestation actually happened. I got really, really serious on my mental diet, and I took out my notebook and I wrote exactly what I wanted. I want to live in this house for 2 years, starting the month of March, and I want the option to buy at the end of March. And I got really clear on that, and I really practiced my mental diet around it. In other words, every time I was reminded that she wanted to sell, I would say, no, 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 she's going to wait 2 years and then she's going to sell it to me. It's going to be perfect. She's going to wait 2 years, rent it to me for the next 2 years at a price I can afford. I had that dollar amount in my mind, and everything's going to work out. And I just really had to, like, in times, practice breathing and getting in that and reminding myself, I know it's coming. Everything's okay. It's working out. and really deliberately put effort into it. So now, like I said, it was less than 4 weeks, much less actually. But either way, I got the amazing text message one day that said, hey, ... they're moving as of March. I wanted to sell, but I can't because of these circumstances that I had never even heard of regarding taxes and all this stuff. And so I'm going to rent it to you for 2 years. And if you do want to buy it, you have the option to buy, and we'll negotiate off of the selling price at that time. So everything came through exactly how I wanted it. Less than 4 weeks before I wanted it. And it's because I really just got clear and stuck to it and decided I'm not going to go back and forth with letting these circumstances that are my own manifestation get in the way, and not settling, because that's something else that I did. While I was waiting, I would look at other homes that, you know, I would just look at the market and look out of the town I lived in because it's a little bit more affordable up north or wherever. Looking at, you know, well, maybe a condo, or maybe a 3-bedroom instead of a 4-bedroom, or maybe 1 bathroom instead of 2, all these things that I kept thinking, well, maybe I should just settle. And that totally caused a delay. And thankfully, none of those, I was never really inspired to move forward with applying and going through the process. I did send out a few emails initially, and it just nothing happened from it. So, you know, manifesting is in work all the time when we do know what we want. And even though there was a part of me that was leaning towards settling, the dominant part of me wasn't, which is why the conversations didn't take place to move forward. And I actually didn't sign a lease anywhere or get into another place that was not what I wanted. But also the last few weeks of the manifesting, when I got out my notebook and started writing, that was one of the things that I paid attention to and noted, was that I had been settling. I had been contemplating the notion of settling, which was keeping it away from me. So I got really firm and really determined and confident in I can have what I want, no matter what it looks like. You know, I can. And if I can continue to tell myself that I can have it, I'm going to eventually start believing it, and it's going to show up for me. So, yeah, so that's really exciting for me. And I hope that it gives you guys some inspiration and hope and things to relate to in seeing that sometimes things take a while. And in the end, you realize that it was you anyway. You know, it's all you. You're creating all of it. You're in control of all of it. And if you can look back and say, oh, I can see how that worked out, you can also train yourself to start looking forward and saying, I know I'm doing this in a way that's going to work out for me. And I know when I get to the other side, I'm going to look back and say it all worked out. So practice saying it preemptively. Practice saying that on the front end. Like, everything is working out for me in perfect timing. Everything is happening exactly in accordance with my desires and my manifestations. And just don't give up on what you want, and know that you get to have it. All right. So that's my video for today. I hope you guys liked it. Again, you know, thanks for joining me. Thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And again, if anybody wants to check out courses or coaching, the links are in the description below. And let me know in the comments if you want to see me do a course on any specific topics. Alrighty, thanks so much, and have an amazing time manifesting. Bye, guys.